Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday and happy Witching Day. So far in pre-market, we have the market falling down just a little bit, but we saw so much choppy movement, just sideways action, basically all night and after hours, and then all morning in pre-market. So there's still no clear direction to the market, at least for right now. As we can see on Tom's chart, the SPY is still between a pretty decent channel between like 444 and 448. So we're kind of in the middle of that range. So be on the lookout for that. And then Tom, do you have any top stocks or any specific setups or anything you're watching for today?
I'm really eyeing up AMD, and I called this out as our free day trade in the day trading section, but there's a pretty big 107 resistance on AMD. And then as a lower support at 105.50, there's another pretty big level. And I feel like right now we're right between there at open. And I feel like the AMD could get a pretty good move one way or the other. And I was really looking at it to the upside, but now over the past 5 minutes, of course, we fall down like another point. So we'll have to see what ends up going on. But it was looking pretty strong early on this morning, and now we started to fall back down.
Gotcha. So welcome everyone to the stream. Thank you for joining X, Mike, Raphael, Sean, Keisha, Jamie, Vicky, and David. As always, let us know what stocks you guys are watching today, and we can definitely take a look at them. I was watching Neo, as Tom has pulled up on his chart right now. This one just been it's at like a pretty big support level. Overall, it's just been struggling over the past couple months. I like it for the long term, and if we see a dip down to let's say 34, 35, I think that would be an awesome entry point.
Yeah, I do too. And that 34 to 35 levels really held up over the past few weeks as a good support, and I really hope that Neo ends up bouncing off of that. That would be an amazing thing to see. Same thing with Tesla. I hope Tesla keeps going up. Looks like they have some green momentum here on the daily chart. And I don't know, it looks like they might finally break this trend line to the upside if they can keep going up. And so far today, looks like they are going up pretty well, and they're right around that 760 resistance. So who knows, we might see a nice breakout or something.
All right, and then we have Clinton asking about RKLB. So what are you thinking about that one, Tom?
Yeah, people keep asking me about Rocket Lab, and it's very interesting. They have those nice launches, which it's definitely good news. You can see how much it made them fly up in the short term there. They had those earnings that helped them out as well. But man, this stock's just been really crazy to the upside. I don't know. Personally, I feel like it could end up going back up from here right around $16. But whenever you look at it on the daily chart, it is getting a little bit overextended. And we did just recently have a nice 100% pop. So I don't know. It's hard to say right now. It's like right in the middle of its range. I like it as far as the sector and as far as the stock goes, but it just sucks to see it fall down from highs that much.
For sure. All right, and then we have Mike joining the stream. So welcome, Mike, to the stream. Keisha said, hopefully I can get a green move in Zoom today. So yeah, this poor Zoom has been struggling so much. Over the past week, it's just been getting demolished. Even yesterday, it hit lows of 273, which sucks to see. So I'm with you, Keisha. Hopefully we see a bounce soon. We have Mike saying thoughts on HNST for the long term. So I didn't research this company fundamentally, but looking at their chart, it looks pretty rough, to be honest with you. We can just see continuous lower highs and lower lows. Like I said, I didn't do a fundamental analysis on this company, but their chart looks really bad, and it's just not something I would touch.
Yeah, me either. And that recent gap down with earnings is definitely not good. And man, anytime you see movement from 23 down to $9, it's never good. And they recently came onto the market, or at least under this ticker, and it just hasn't been trading well since then.
For sure. All right, and then we have Alex saying good morning and happy Friday. We made it to the end of this crazy trading week. I know it's been all over the place, and we have quad witching, which, really shouldn't bring in too much volatility, more so volume. Alex also said LCID is creeping up slowly. Does it look good for the long term? So I do like LCID for the long term. Of course, it's relatively risky, but I like it.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty risky, especially just because of how low priced the stock is. But at least we're pretty close to that $20 support. And I feel like Lucid can be pretty good. They have some decent cars, and that EV sector is set to pop off. And they're definitely not like a Tesla or like a Neo, but I feel like they can do well in the long term.
Here we go. All right, and then one other thing, Tom, is I see that Amazon's having like a decent recovery and Redfin too. So what do you think of both of those?
Yeah, Amazon's actually, dude, looking pretty good here on the daily. And so far this morning on the 1 minute, looks like they're popping back up pretty well. I don't know. I feel like they could end up recovering up pretty well, Mike. I mean, Amazon recently had a gap down between at like 35.80. We recently almost filled that gap back to the upside, and it just looks like a nice bullish setup. We're bouncing off the 100 SMA. We did hit off of that blue trend line and move back to the downside, but at some point, this trend line is going to get broken. And I feel like it just looks like the stock's turning up right now, and we might see that happen pretty soon.
And then what are you thinking of Redfin? Because I actually really like this setup.
Yeah, Redfin's been really low lately, and they're bouncing like right off support. I like it too, and I like this one for more of a longer term play too. I feel like you could really get into this one for a lot longer. Like Amazon, I feel like is going to be good maybe for the next few weeks, but man, Redfin I feel like has the potential to rise for the next few months, and it won't just be all straight up green candles. But man, I have a good feeling this one's right around support, and hopefully it holds up.
There we go. Alrighty. And then we have Spacely saying, good morning. So thanks so much for joining, Spacely. Jerry said, at Tom, they're clapping AMD.
Yeah, let's look at it. AMD is getting clapped today so far. We're actually right at that like support around 105. So yeah, I mean, definitely getting clapped, but it looks like some green is trying to come back into AMD, or like it is trying to consolidate. But if we see a bad move down through like 105 or down through 104.50, then we might just have to look at it to the downside, because man, I mean, AMD's been getting destroyed on the daily chart. It's just that the intradays was looking pretty good to the upside if we could have broke that resistance. But man, it looks like that resistance held up, and like we might be going down now.
Alrighty. And then I also saw that, while certain stocks, certain sectors are up today, like Redfin, RCL, I guess you could say Delta Airlines, stuff like that, you look at Apple and they're getting smacked. Look at this movement right from open.
Yeah, it's actually really bad. And we've been seeing that lately a lot out of these bigger stocks. Like they'll move up in pre-market, but then every single day, right when the market opens, you just see big red candles, or just terrible moves to the downside right as that like open happens. And I don't know what that is at open, if that's like algorithms or HFTs or what's going on causing these quick sell-offs like that. But man, it's definitely not good. And I think we're seeing that with the SPY too, aren't we? Yeah, the SPY kind of sold off too. So I don't know. It's just it's a really bad thing for the market. But we, like you said earlier, though, we're seeing some stocks still going up, but it just seems like the big ones that like really impact the market are like going down, like you said, Apple, and then we even have Microsoft kind of going red too off their 305 resistance.
Good stuff. So, guys, let us know what stocks you're watching. I know that there's a lot that's going on in the market. I know we've been seeing a lot of chop, but let us know what stocks are on your watch list. So far this morning, Tom, UPST just keeps on going. It looks like it's now over 300 and almost 305.
Man, I talked about buying this one yesterday as a bit of a joke, but it would have ended up being really good actually. Like you said, popped up very nicely up above that 300 resistance. Like, man, I cannot believe that I'm saying this. Like, I remember whenever we had this mic at $200. So this is crazy to see it popping up above 300. And at some point, like it's going to keep going probably for the next like week or two, but it will end up falling down. I'll definitely be eyeing it up when it does. But wow, this momentum's crazy. And hey, I'm glad it keeps going, because it just keeps going up every single day, and it honestly is creating some pretty good opportunities.
All right. We have Keisha saying pins is green and looks good. So let's take a look at it. Yeah, it's up almost 1% or so. It's holding its ground very well. I know it's technically below that $55 support, but, it's right there. And they actually have a lot of growth potential.
Yeah, they do actually. And they're right on that support, like Mike said. And it looks like they have a nice gap to fill. They have a gap between $60 and $70 here. And I really feel like it'll fill this eventually. Now, I hope the support holds up around 50, but the main thing is with that gap fill, if we start to see that happen, I think we'll see some pretty good moves out of Pinterest. And, we're seeing a lot of stocks down here by support, and Pinterest is just another one. So I hope that they end up going up if a lot of these growth stocks like CHPT, CRSR, and all these other stocks down in support end up going up too.
All right, and then we have Vicky asking for support and resistance on Etsy. So ETSY, we can see that they're booming up. Tom, what levels do you have for us?
Yeah, I mean, we are heading up and it looks like we're breaking a resistance right around 225 and like we're finally breaking out right here. It looks pretty good to me. I do see another resistance coming up like right around 230, but I will say the setup looks pretty good to the upside. And like I said, we had been consolidating for a little while right here and we're finally getting a nice breakout today. So I hope it keeps going. And honestly, Etsy doesn't look bad for maybe a retest of all-time highs soon.
All right. And then we have V saying, "Good morning. How are Macau dependent hotel stocks doing today?" So LVS and Win. If we take a look at LVS, it's green technically, but it's just tough because there's so much selling pressure with them. So like, it's kind of like I don't want to say they look good because it's kind of like catching a falling knife right now. Like, it's just there's so many sellers coming into it. I don't mind, I wouldn't mind holding WYNN for the long term, maybe selling some puts on it, but in terms of short-term trade, I just don't see that opportunity. And especially when you look at Win or LVS, you can see this implied volatility is skyrocketing. So not only will you have to predict direction in this crazy environment, but you will also have to predict it the time aspect too, because options are getting pretty expensive. So long story short, they're just in a really tough spot for short-term trading right now. But I'm definitely eyeing up Win for some short puts for maybe a long-term hold.
Yeah, me too. And there's a huge support down here, like right around $80. And whenever COVID happened, it created a bunch of supports like at 80. There's another one down here like at 72. So really watch out because this could easily keep falling for the next couple of weeks. And I really hope that we end up holding that 80 support. But honestly, I would just play shares or super long-term leaps on it. I'd be really careful with anything in the short term. It can just go up and down very, very drastically. But Mike, look at some of these oil stocks today, like Exxon and Mobil. Look at this 1 minute chart this morning. Like, I don't know what came into this at open, but I mean, hey, I'm glad it happened.
It's all over the place, like everything.
Yeah,
So,
just like everything in the market right now. Like we'll see crazy moves to the downside in pre-market, and then as soon as the market opens, you'll see a huge move to the upside. Or like we saw with the SPY, you'll see great CPI data come out and send the market flying up in pre-market, and then as soon as we open, we'll fall from 448 down to 444. So honestly, it shouldn't even surprise me right now.
yep. Crazy stuff, Tom. All right, so we have Jerry saying, Mike, how does CCJ look for a day trade to the upside? So I'm going to be completely honest with you. So this is coming from someone who's pretty bullish on CCJ. I don't like it. You look at this chart intraday, and even though it had a good first couple minutes, this daily chart just looks relatively bad. Obviously the stock has been booming up, and that's awesome, and that's great for our call positions, but for a short-term trade, it's still pretty overbought. And look at this, stock can easily continue up, but the main question is it worth the risk given what the stock has done over the past couple weeks and the current implied volatility? And to me, that's no. Now, like I said, I love the stock. I think it has a lot of potential to grow, but just for a short-term trade right now, I just don't see that opportunity. You know what I mean? I feel like it'd be a lot better. Maybe we see a dip down to 23 or something like that. Maybe you just grab a couple shares, or you short a put option or two, or maybe even a leap. I feel like your money will be much better, doing that than kind of speculating on this crazy short-term movement, because this stock really has, it's been really volatile.
Yeah, and you can see it's been consolidating for a few days. There's been like 4 or 5 red days up here at the top. And, it reminds me of just a lot of stocks like SPRT as it went up, started to consolidate at the top, kind of like this with some red days. And I feel like that we could see a couple more consolidation days, kind of like what Mike said, maybe down to like 23 or $22. And that doesn't mean that the stock's just going to crash and burn. But, for the short term, we could definitely see a pullback after this huge rise. It's just kind of how these stocks go. And like Mike said, it's always better to just, maybe get some shares or play it for the longer term whenever they're in setups like this. Now if CCJ was down here by the 16 support, I'd feel a lot different, and I might be more willing to go all in or more willing to grab like shorter term calls or something like that. But just being around all time highs, it's just it's really hard to do that.
Gotcha. All right, and then we have Maine saying, "Whoa, Palantir." So Tom, we got to highlight this one. Palantir is still going, and we broke above that 29 resistance.
There we go. Are we going to finally hit that $30 level today, Mike? I really feel like that there's a lot of potential for this. Palantir had a great move yesterday. I feel like if it has the same type of move today, we'll be right around $30 at some point. And man, this is a great breakout. And it seems like such a solid setup. I know yesterday we saw the same thing happen at open. We saw a huge move to the upside and looks like that's happening again today. I don't know, Mike. I know that we said $30 would be pretty easy, and I feel like we will see that pretty soon.
Yep. All right, and then we have Jorge saying, "Morning, guys. LMT near support. I'm thinking it should be a nice grab anytime soon." So let's take a look at it. LMT. Yeah, I mean, they're a solid company. They're probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And, when you see them dip like this, it's generally a pretty good opportunity. So I like LMT. To be completely honest, I like Boeing a little more, but they're both great companies.
Yeah, I think Boeing might be a little bit better as far as like percentage, like your risk reward ratio is going to be a lot better with Boeing than with Lockheed Martin. With Lockheed, it's a really slow mover. Like we can see it just consolidates between like 350 and $400. So it's moving pretty slow. And I'll be honest, I'm pretty biased towards Lockheed and Boeing. I love both of them. I think I like Lockheed a little bit more, but even though I love them, I will say the technicals right now don't look too good. They just fell through that 350 resistance. They're down below that 1,000 SMA. And, I really hope that they hold up at one of these nearing supports, like around 325 or somewhere really close. But I'll be honest, it's just not looking good to me in the short term. It's starting to really fall out of that support. And let's go check out Boeing. And hey, at least Boeing is holding that 210 support very well.
True that. All right, and then Maine also mentioned SDC. So what are you seeing with that one?
Yeah, I remember we were talking about these guys a while over the past few weeks. They've been having some pretty crazy moves, and they're finally breaking that 675 resistance. And I don't know, it looks like a pretty good day trade to me. It looks like it's moving up now. There is a lot of levels coming up that we were at a few months ago, but I don't know. I feel like at least the momentum's there right now. I feel like this stock is definitely more of like a day trading type of stock. I don't think I would try to swing this one too much, but I would definitely look at day trading it. Whenever I look at like the longer term charts in the past, man, this stock just got killed over the past year.
Gotcha. Alrighty, and then let's see. Palantir's looking good. Disney's looking decent. So yeah, I'm just trying to see where the money's flowing today. It looks like Redfin's on the top of my watch list, so it's up like almost 5%, looking pretty good. My watch list is pretty split today, Tom. I don't know about you. Like almost like 50% green, 50% red.
Yeah, mine's just about 50-50 too. And, one stock on mine that's really catching my eyes is BABA has another slight green day coming in. And once again, this morning, we saw another gap up in pre-market. And then we ended up breaking that now at open. We broke that 159 resistance. We're running up to 160. And man, BABA's just been getting killed on the daily chart. And it looks like we're kind of double bottoming down there, like right around that 154 to 155 support. Honestly, it doesn't look too bad for a setup to the upside.
There we go. Alrighty. And then we have Sean saying FUV levels. I have a 11.67 line in my chart. Don't know how legit it is. So, Tom, what levels do we have for FUV, and is $11.67 an accurate level?
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty accurate level. Right around 1160 seems to be like a pretty big resistance, and I can see what he's looking at, how like intraday on Wednesday, and then yesterday, right around the end of the day, we hit right around that 1167 level and then went right to the downside. So I could definitely see that as a good resistance. And we even kind of hit that around open. So I do like that level, and hopefully we can end up going up through that because it's had a lot of problems breaking through that so far this morning. And I'd really like to see it end up moving up. And I know we've been talking about FUV for a few weeks. A lot of people have been asking questions about it. Personally, it's not my favorite stock, but I don't know. It reminds me of like a CRSR or like a CHPT, or it's definitely like one of those growth stocks, and it's been consolidating a lot lately.
Gotcha. All right, Moderna's struggling a little bit too. They're down like 1.6%. So yeah, good stuff there. So yeah, let us know what stocks you guys are watching. I really like this Palantir movement though. Like it's been struggling a lot over like just the past year, and to finally see this breakout, it's relieving. It's just been doing nothing, and every time it tried to break out in the past, it got rejected. So I'm loving this movement.
Yeah, me too. Like you said, we've been waiting for this one for a long time, and Palantir went really flat ever since August 12th. And that's honestly like quite a few months. That's over like a month and like a week. So that's a long time of just pretty much sitting between 24 and $26. I'm so glad to finally see it, like you said. And I'm sure I'm sure that the call options are moving a lot right now, but I'm wondering how much they got killed from sitting there that long. That was definitely a long time of consolidation, and that's why timing's so important in the options market. But looking at the stock, I mean, I would really hope that we hit $30 today, but it looks like right now intraday we are pulling back a little bit, Mike. And just like we saw yesterday, there was a lot of up and down movement all day long, so there's definitely potential for it to continue higher still.
All right. And then we have Jorge saying the thing with LMT being a slow mover is that it also pays a decent dividend, unlike Boeing. But I feel you technically, it's not looking so good, but I would expect it to bounce around these levels. I mean, for sure, it's a great company, Jorge, and both Lockheed Martin and Boeing, they're both great companies. They both have pros and cons, and either way, I don't think you could go wrong getting into it. Of course, make sure to do your own research and all that stuff, but I like the setup overall, but like I said, I'm a little bit more biased towards Boeing.
Yeah, and everybody has those biases, and like personally, I'm more biased towards Lockheed. So it just depends on which one you like. And I'm with you. I think it has a great dividend, and I feel like it's going to be a little bit safer than Boeing. But I feel like Boeing, like I said earlier, I feel like you could make a lot higher return on Boeing though in the longer run.
All right. Then we have Alex saying, me three, growing white hair, waiting so long for Palantir. I don't think you're the only one, Alex. I think there's a lot of us out there. But hey, we can celebrate now, right? It's popping up. We're very close to 29. It's looking really good. Even if it gets rejected off 29, just like the movement overall is really good. The stock is breaking multi-month highs, and I'm just excited for the future of Palantir because it's a very unique company, and I feel like they have a lot of growth potential.
Yeah, me too. They're really they're pretty decent. I haven't looked into like exactly like into their full fundamentals. I haven't done like a full like in-depth research about Palantir, so I don't know exactly like how they function as a company, but I love their chart. I love their movement. And for the long term, the setup is great. And I know that some of those big analysts are buying in too. So that's amazing to see. And I really love breakout trades. And this type of breakout, especially yesterday off of 2750, was just an amazing thing to see. And I'm really glad to see it continue today. A breakout trade's always good the first day, but whenever they continue, it's really awesome, as we can see on the daily charts. And I really like it. It's just the main thing is we're getting close to that 30 resistance. And I feel like we might hit off of that at some time today. Looks like we're finally getting more green momentum coming into it after that small little pullback there. So maybe we'll be up towards $30 sometime pretty soon.
We shall see. All right, and then we have Maine saying AFRM is also going. Read in some Twitter posts a few days ago that they are expecting it to go to 150. So, it does have a lot of momentum. Just be careful what you read on Twitter because, you'll see some people saying it's going to 150. Some people say it's going to go to 800, and then someone else is going to say it's going to go to 30. So, just take everything you hear with a grain of salt because I remember when I was first starting to trade, I would go on like stock twits and, someone would be like, all right, this penny stock right now it's at $4, but it has a very high chance of going to 20 in the next 2 weeks because of, this FDA approval or whatever reason. And then you buy in and then, a couple weeks later you're down 50%. So just take everything here with a grain of salt. But yeah, AFRM's definitely looking pretty good.
It is. There's actually a lot of momentum coming in. I know that we talked about this one the other day on September 15th. And man, I'll be honest, this looks like a pretty nice bullish setup here on the daily chart. It really looks like to me that we might continue and we might end up breaking above like 127. I'm not sure we'll hit 150 or not, but I'll be honest, to me, it looks like a pretty good bullish chart. Normally, whenever you're getting gap ups like this and then you're getting more turns back up, kind of like what we saw the past 2 days, it usually results in a break of this. So we'll just have to see. But overall, I mean, it's had a lot of upwards movement lately. So you got to be really careful because it has these gap ups and gap downs. And you could always buy this and then wake up and it gap down to $100. So just be really careful with it.
Good stuff. And then let's see. We have Sean asking about MTTR. What are you thinking about that one?
MTTR, it has a lot of momentum too. It honestly, this one is in a little bit better of a setup in my opinion. There's not quite all the gap ups and everything. That doesn't mean it won't move as good, but overall, it has it has a lot of momentum today and over the past couple days. I will say, we're getting close to where it had a lot of volatility in the past, so look out for that. But it has a lot of momentum now, and it looks like we're having problems breaking $22 even. So if we can break that, I feel like it could end up having a great move. But man, this daily chart, it's had a lot of momentum lately, Mike.
All right. Yeah, I actually heard a lot about this company. I just want to pull something up real quick. So give me 1 second. So, okay, yeah, I know that they're like huge in like 3D technology, and I know that they do a lot with like virtual home tours and stuff like that. So I've heard a lot about them, but to be honest, I have not done a ton of research in this one. But I've heard a lot of good things about them, and I might consider investing into them, but I just have to do more research. But on a technical level, I think it looks pretty good, and they have that all-time high right at like 28 or so. A pretty big resistance coming up, you could say like 25 or so. So it should be interesting, and it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be so hard to tell because it's like right around. If we go back on the 4-hour chart, it had that crazy day. Once it broke 25, it ran all the way up to $28 last time. So maybe just watch for it to break 25. I feel like that might be the way to go over the next few days, and it's definitely not a bad way. If you're looking to get into some quick day trades or something, I think that's a pretty smart way to play it.
All right, we have to talk about the market, Tom. Like ever since open, we're just seeing nonstop selling pressure. It looks like we're getting really close to 443.22, big support level. Literally since the market opened, it's basically been nothing but straight down.
Yeah, it has, and it looks like we might finally break that, Mike. We've just been slowly sliding off to the downside all week, and I don't know if you've been able to tell that or not, but man, the way that the market's been flying up in pre-market and then like actually just sliding all throughout the day to the downside has just been absolutely crazy. And you can draw some it's at the point now where like you can draw some of these trend lines to the downside and start to like really catch like some of these good moves. I know that I'm definitely noticing a lot of like movement off of some like trend lines to the downside. So I don't know. It's definitely not a good thing in the short term to see this movement. But hey, I mean, whenever the market goes down, it creates a lot of opportunities for puts and different things like VXX, UVXY. And I think it's just so important to hedge yourself right now. It is Friday, so it's going to be really hard heading into the new week to, hold a lot of these plays over the weekend. But man, I'll be honest, it doesn't look good. And I feel like before the end of the day today, we might be breaking that bottom support around 443.22, Mike. This sell-off today is pretty bad. And, we've been bouncing off this level every single day. So maybe we'll finally break it.
All right. And then we have James saying, good morning. Please levels on Microsoft and NVIDIA. Thanks. Great job, guys. So Microsoft and NVIDIA, what are you seeing, Tom?
I see short term for Microsoft right around $302. There's a pretty good support there. If we break 302, kind of like what it looks like we're doing right now, I could see another big support right at $300 even. That's going to be a huge psychological level. So really watch out for $300. And then there's a big upper resistance up around 305.
Awesome. And then NVIDIA.
NVDA, they've been actually consolidating a lot, but once again, they might break it kind of like the SPY. Big support at 220, and then a big resistance up here right around 224. And today, right at open, we actually bounced right off of 224 and headed right down, and now we're at 220. So we'll have to see how we end up moving here. I have a bad feeling if the SPY breaks to the downside, we're going to see NVIDIA also break down.
All right, and then we have memes saying, what does quadruple witching mean? So quad witching is basically when we have stock index futures, stock index options, regular stock options, and then single stock futures all expiring on the same day. So basically what this does is you see a ton of volume in the market because, giant institutions and just normal people overall, their options and futures are expiring, so they got to roll them over. So you'll see a lot of like volume come in. Now, this does not always mean there will be increased volatility. You'll see a bunch of people all over everywhere basically saying, oh, quad witching is tomorrow, the market might crash and all this stuff. But a lot of times it's just super hyped up. But sometimes it can bring in increased volatility, but it's mainly just you're going to see a lot more volume today, and it only happens like 4 times a year. So I guess it's kind of a big deal, kind of not. It's just I guess it's just like a mini market event, you can say.
Yeah, and if we do see the SPY continue to sell off like this, I would not be surprised if the media started to come out with different articles saying, quad witching definitely played a role in the breaking of support, or like what have you. So I could definitely see that somehow affecting the market today. And it's just it's definitely weird. Like we can see the S&P futures here really starting to sell off, and looks like we might be holding that 443 bottom support that we were talking about on the SPY, Mike. It looks like we are getting a couple green candles coming back in, but I don't know. I really hope that I know it sounds bad, but I really hope that we end up breaking that to the downside just for the sake of just continuing some straight up movement here. I hate to see such a choppy market. I want to see something good break, like a good breakout below 443, and then a nice continuation down would definitely be good for us.
There we go. Alrighty, we have Disney looking good though. That one's up over 1%. That's like the only stock that I see that like is like still doing like pretty good despite everything. Like even like on the daily, like it's really holding its ground, and Disney's a powerhouse, and I'm glad to see him looking good.
Yeah, it looks pretty good actually, and I'm glad you brought this one up. Like you said, a lot of stocks are not looking good today, so it's nice to see this one holding up, and they're considered a pretty steady stock. They do have a lot of up and down movement, it seems like, but they're a very steady stock, and hopefully they just hold their levels and keep going up. The setup definitely looks like it's there for Disney, and they've had all that big news lately about like DraftKings and DraftKings possibly having a deal with ESPN, and that could be some really good news actually. And they talked about either DraftKings doing it, or what was the other one, Mike? Win?
DraftKings and Caesars.
Okay, Caesars. That's right. So CZR, they were both kind of competing to see who would get this deal with ESPN, and I really hope that that the deal ends up going towards DraftKings, like Mike was saying a while ago. But in the end, I really think it'll end up helping Disney, and Disney's moving today so well that it's honestly blowing my mind to see it moving like this with the SPY moving the way it is.
Yeah, I like it though. It's looking good. Then we have Bravo saying, good morning, guys. What do you think of MRK at this level? They are dropping because of their dividend day, I guess. So it's a solid company. Personally, I like AbbVie a little bit more, which is ABBV. But, when we look at MRK, overall, like they've been doing good for the most part. I know that a lot of different, I guess you could say, like health stocks have been struggling. And with MRK, I have unfortunately been seeing some decent bearish unusual options activity, which isn't good to see. I believe I saw a put ratio spread that expires in a couple months. So that isn't good, but just a lot of health stocks are struggling right now. Plus, we're also just seeing the market go crazy. But as long as you average in, it should be pretty good. Like everything's struggling right now for the most part. Like a lot of growth stocks have been struggling. Like you look at RUN, you look at basically like any growth stock, and it's down significantly from its highs from a couple months ago. So there's just a lot of selling right now. And then Bravo also said, it's choppy that I don't want to even buy UVXY because you can't trust this market, man. And I know what you mean. It's like, it's like you look at UVXY and you're like, what, I'm going to hedge today. I'm going to buy UVXY. And then right when you buy, the market explodes up and you're like, all right, now I'm going to cut this. And then the day after that, the market tanks down again and then UVXY is up again. So it's so much chop,
Yeah, just lots of chop going on. And I know it's really hard. And personally, I've been averaging into some UVXY over the past few days, and I'm averaging at right around 21.80, and that's honestly like right where we are now. And I just have a few shares, so I'm just going to let it ride out for the next week or two. And if it falls down to 20, then, okay, I might lose like, a few $100 or something if it falls down a couple points. But in the end, it won't be too bad though, comparative to like if I would buy like a UVXY or a VXX option and then end up going down, I might end up losing a lot more percentage wise on that. So, or obviously you would. So we'll have to see how it ends up going. But I think just grabbing a couple shares could be a really good way. And, you don't really have to worry too much about the up and down movement because all week UVXY has pretty much stayed right around $22.
Yep. And then Bravo put in PK and then HLT. So I really like HLT actually, and they move pretty similar, PK and HLT. I saw some good options activity with HLT. I also really like RCL. RCL is probably my favorite out of those three. I know that they're like kind of different, but they kind of all move together. They're like recovery plays.
Yeah, and I would really go for RCL more of two, I think, just given the pricing and everything. But, HLT is a pretty good stock. It's just that you're buying in around all-time highs. And, it could continue up, but it's the same concept as Apple. Like we saw Apple around all-time highs. And, like, are you going to really be buying Apple around 150? Because that's kind of like what HLT is like now.
All right. We have Nye saying, how's Palantir looking for the day? So it has great momentum. It's just the only problem that will probably happen with this one is the market it's so undecided. There's so much chop, and normally when we see markets like this, it's hard to see like any true momentum plays. Palantir is looking amazing today, and I love this company, and I hope it continues up. It's just I know that with the market overall just being so uncertain, that can just kind of limit some of its potential. But it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, right now it looks like it's kind of posting like a little bit of lower highs on the intraday chart. So hopefully it keeps going. I mean, I was really hoping that we would end up hitting $30 today. And I still think that there's a lot of potential for that. But as of right now, it's definitely consolidating. And like I said, it kind of has those lower highs going on.
Here we go. And then we have Vicky saying LCID. Wow, it's looking great, Vicky. Up over 7%. Hit highs of $23.20 in pre-market. And talk about like a great recovery, Tom. Like if you look back on like the past month, I remember on September 1st, the stock was as low as I think 15. Yeah, $15.26. And now it's at $22.56. So it's booming.
Yeah, it really is. And this morning or yesterday in after hours, I should say, it bounced right off that resistance around 23. So we have a nice level to look for with that. And I love how it opened. It held that $22 support and it's starting to break that opening level now. And it honestly looks like a pretty good setup here. There's a lot of momentum coming in, and I'd love to see it come up and retest 23 or 24.
There we go. And then we have Maine and Iranical mentioning SDC. And Iranical said SDC up 20%. Wow.
What do you think? They're really flying today.
For sure. So, what levels are next?
I mean, up through $7, it's really hard to say. Looking at the max daily chart, this stock's just been getting demolished. So it's kind of hard to say here. But I would say that right around $7.50 seems to be a pretty good resistance. Yeah, I would say that's definitely a good level to look for. And we're getting pretty close to that right now. So I could really see that continuing, but I hate to just skip away from this, but man, we have the SPY actually breaking new lows, new daily lows down here, broke that 443.20 level, Mike, and looks like we're at 443.03. I don't know. Do you think we'll finally break 444 to the downside? I don't know. I think we finally might after hitting off of it like for 5 days in a row this week.
Yeah, I feel like we will at some point throughout the day. And then, I'm just looking through some of the Discord chats, and we have P saying Disney doesn't care. It just keeps popping up, and I love to see that. We're just seeing a lot of interesting movement today. And what I think is pretty notable is historically, whenever the market was shaky, you'd see companies like Apple just booming up, right? Like Apple would just be leading the way. But it's kind of the opposite right now. While we have stocks like Disney holding their ground, Apple's the one that's tanking. Microsoft is the one that's tanking. So we're just seeing a rotation into where the money's flowing. But at the same time, if we continue to see stocks like Apple and Microsoft sell off, that's just gonna only accelerate the downtrend.
Yeah, it really will. And I think that's kind of like what you pointed out. Like we're seeing that this morning. Like Apple really tanked off to the downside, and the SPY just started following it down. And these bigger stocks, they play a big role in the market, like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, like those really big stocks, like the big market caps are always the ones that are going to move the market the most. And of course, right now we're seeing the SPY bounce off that 443 support. Looks like it is holding up right now, Mike. So like you said, it might break that later on. But I mean, man, it's a really bad thing to see Apple and all these stocks going down. But the thing is that I know that we've been talking about this for a long time now, Mike. So I hate to sound like a broken record again, but I mean, man, like how we're at all-time highs here. Like at some point, people just have to look at the market objectively and just say, like, hey, I know that there's a possibility that Apple might run from 140 up to 200, but at some point you got to think like, hey, we're at all-time highs. There's a lot of stuff going on in the market. Investors might de-risk themselves. And, like you said, there's a big rotation going on. There's lots of other stocks like CRSR and Palantir, which are down by supports that I'm sure are a lot more enticing to buy right now than Apple. And it's just a really bad thing to see that Apple's really tanking the market. But we see the market go up and we see the market go down. So it's just kind of in that phase right now.
All right. And then let's see. Okay, so we have Bravo saying next level for the S&P 500. So SPX, he said 4,437 to 4,435. So yeah, I would see that for sure. Like you look at like a pretty short-term support. I definitely see that level.
Yeah, I could see that too. And 4,437 is definitely a good low on it. So watch out for that. I feel like if we break that, I mean, I feel like we might get a nice move down to like 4,400 even. I see a pretty big support down there.
Yep. And then if we just take a look at the VIX real quick, VXX, it's showing a lot of positive momentum today, obviously, but it's just a good potential hedge. But, like we were talking with like Bravo earlier with UVXY, it's just tough. And honestly, like I feel like it would just be better to like maybe just decide like to either hedge yourself or not and just let it work. You know what I mean? Because I feel like no one can time this market perfectly, and I feel like all like the short term trading, with UVXY and VXX might do more harm than good.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I did, So I would definitely recommend that too. And I just bought a few shares of UVXY over the past few days. Like each day, I'd buy a few shares, and I'm averaged in at 2180, so it's not terrible. And it's not like I have like 3,000 shares of UVXY or anything. You don't need to overdo it, But like a few hundred shares could go a long way with this stock.
For sure. Alrighty, and like honestly, you could even sell some puts on VXX. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that could be a
Oh
decent
yeah.
strategy.
I didn't even think about that, Mike. That's a really good strategy, actually. Like you could do that and maybe do it for like next week's expiration. That could be a really good way to go.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like a hedge, but it's like a safe hedge. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, and it's good to do that for shorter term plays, right? But you never do that for like a leap or never do that for a longer term setup with any of these VIX stocks though, because they generally just go down in the long term.
yeah, that'd be pretty rough. Imagine like selling an at the money VIX or UVXY put for next year. Oh, that'd be brutal.
Yeah, could you imagine it goes down to like $3 and then reverse splits? Like, oh man.
Oh gosh. All right, and then we have Keisha saying Tesla is not intimidated at all by LCID. So yeah, Tesla's holding its ground. I'm very curious if Burry's still holding his short.
Me too. That's going to be really a big thing, I think, once that report finally comes out. But what sucks is that we won't even know about it for a few months. Like, I know we just got one of the other reports. It seemed like just a couple weeks ago. So sounds like we're going to have to wait a little bit longer now. And I don't know. Tesla looks pretty good on the daily. To me, it looks like it might finally break this trend to the upside. And we've been hitting this and moving to the downside every single move off of it. And to me, it looks like we're finally going to break that to the upside. And I hope that we see it. There's a big resistance on Tesla right at 760 and 762. And I really would like to see a nice break here.
All right. So yeah, I'm just doing a quick scan right now. As we said earlier, there's not like too much like great momentum in either direction. Of course, the SPY is kind of just like leaning towards the downside, and looks like we're about to break down, Tom.
Yeah, we just broke below 443, and I'm really seeing a big sell-off about to come in. I think, Mike, it's not looking good. We're seeing the market continuing down. We finally broke this bottom level, and I would really hope that we get a good move now that we finally broke that. We'll have to see though. Sometimes there's like little fake outs, or this might still hold up as support. We only moved 4 cents past it, so we'll have to see. But I feel like as we watch this over the next couple minutes, we'll definitely see the SPY go down. And I don't know. It's a really crazy market right now. And we've been waiting for this support to get broken for this whole week pretty much. And I really hope that we see it finally.
Yep. And then we have Bravo saying, what do you guys think of analysts and Kramer saying the market will be tough after September 17th? A lot of people expect we sell. Is this a FOMO trying to make people sell? To be honest, like, the market's tough right now, and I feel like it's only going to get more volatile. So I kind of agree with them, actually. And that doesn't mean to sell out of all of your positions and liquidate everything, but let's keep in mind that generally speaking, time in the market is better than timing the market. So like I said, I don't think you need to like close out of like all your positions, but I think it'd be a smart idea to maybe grab a hedge or two and just hold it. Like let's say you grabbed VXX, right, or UVXY, and you grabbed a couple hundred shares or something, and you just held it for a couple weeks. Like, if the market tanks, you'll probably see at least, I would say at least like a 15% return on VXX. So,
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
yes, I can. I actually had the same problem with Thinkorswim yesterday.
Man, I knew this was going to happen. The market started tanking, and I think they crashed their servers again. Too much volume, I think, came in.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Every day we get a good move, right?
Yep. Yeah, so anyways, as I was saying, grabbing a hedge I think would be a smart idea. Like in just holding it. I feel like timing the market will be really tough and no one can do it. But I'm definitely expecting more volatility, and it sucks, that to see Thinkorswim go down like this. But I had the same exact problem yesterday, so I guess we'll just pull it up on TradingView real quick. But looking at the market. To be exact, the S&P 500 is down around 0.65% right now. We have Apple leading the way to the downside, down around 1.5%. So, good stuff there. And here we go. We're back, Tom. SPY's breaking lows.
Yep, there we go. All the way down to 442.60. I mean, man, this is a really bad move to the downside. I'm glad that we finally broke 443. Looks like that sell-off is going to accelerate. And I like what you were talking about, or I like how they brought up Kramer in that 917 talk. And, I really think that, and of course, today's September 17th. So we are seeing the market go down on this day. So maybe Kramer was right. But I will say it looks pretty decent. And the thing is I love the sell-off. We finally broke it. A lot of momentum to the downside. And the main thing to look for to me, I don't know, like, a lot of people are talking about Kramer and, September and the 17th and everything. But to me, I'm looking at it a little bit more objectively. Like I'm looking at like Apple, and I'm just looking at Microsoft, and I'm looking at all the stocks in the stock market. And I just go through every single one. And whenever you go, well, not every single one, but the bigger ones. And you go through and you look at like Apple and some of these like this, and they're just all at like all-time highs right now. Like Apple up at all-time highs. We have MSFT, same thing, all-time highs again. Guess what else? Facebook, all-time highs. I could just go on and on here with these big tech stocks at all-time highs, and it's like a never-ending thing. And at some point, these things have to come down, and I think that we're seeing that happen right now. Facebook's finally turning over to the downside after almost 2 years of straight up movement. Same thing with Apple, same thing with Microsoft. Now Apple didn't go straight up for 2 years like Facebook, but granted, they're at all-time highs and they're starting to turn back over, and they had that split last year. So that could also be playing a part. So, even though Apple's at 120, imagine if that 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 split didn't happen, we'd be looking at like $800 a share or 500 or whatever it would be right now.
True that. For sure, for sure. Alrighty, so yeah, looks like the VIX is still popping up. Beyond is actually rebounding. I don't know if you saw that one. Beyond is up like 3.5% on the day, and I feel like a lot of people forgot about this one. Like, it had a huge run back in May and June, but ever since then, it's just been slowly selling off.
Yeah, it has, and I'm glad to see it coming back. I know that we were talking about this one a ton yesterday, Mike, and it had some terrible selling pressure yesterday right around open. that max daily looks pretty good. Like they might be bouncing off support, like you said. So I really think this one could be good for the long term, or at least for the next few months, especially with it being right around support. It's just hard to say because it's in a very weird sector, but I would say it could do pretty good.
All right, and then we have Mike saying, thanks for everything you guys do. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for joining, Mike. Thanks so much for all the support. And then, Tom, how's good old AMC doing?
AMC, they are moving back down, unfortunately. And a lot of times when the market goes down, AMC was liking to rise for a little bit. So I don't know. Let's look at the 1 minute. Looks like as the market broke lows, AMC did have some green momentum come in, but overall today it's been pretty bad back to the downside. And AMC had a great move. I mean, they double bottomed at the $30 support and they ran right up to $50, and now they're just coming back a little. And I don't think it's too surprising. They went up to that resistance, came right back down, and it's just the movement that these stocks usually have. And we fell back through $50, and once we fell back through that technical, it's just been going down since then.
Gotcha. All right, then we have Bravo saying ELY buybacks. Let's take a look. ELY, to be honest, I haven't been following this stock too much. I saw in the news tab that they looks like they had some talks about an offering, but I'm not seeing any buyback news right now. But like I said, I have not been following this one too much.
Yeah, and this stock's supposed to do pretty good. Like personally, I'm a big golfer. I play golf all the time, and Callaway's a pretty big company. They're definitely not going to go anywhere by any means. And the cool thing I think about Callaway, I'll look it up in a second. I think that they own Top Golf, which is a really cool. Oh, they do. So yeah, they own Top Golf, which has been really booming lately. Even people who don't play golf love Top Golf. So it's a really cool thing, and I really think that Callaway could do well for the next few years. I really hope that they have an offering and they end up falling so I can grab some shares pretty low and maybe short some puts around the 25 striker lower.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I know that obviously they have a bunch of I don't want to I guess you could say influence in like the golf world, but like you mentioned Top Golf, Tom, like I'm not a huge golfer myself, but I love Top Golf. It's awesome, and almost every time you go there it's jam packed and you have to wait like 2 hours just to get in. So yeah, it should be good. But let's see. Yeah, I didn't see any news about a buyback, but like I said 3 times, I I haven't been following it too much. But I agree with you, Tom. If we do see a drop in it, I would definitely look to scoop up some shares. And then we have Bravo saying V close to $220, gonna crack lower maybe. I can definitely see it. These credit card companies have definitely been struggling. Visa, MasterCard, and stocks like that, and I can actually see them trending lower for a couple more weeks.
Yeah, I could too. And I've heard a lot of weird stuff the past like 6 months actually about some weird stuff going on with credit cards, like possible stuff where like they like certain like regulations might come out, like not allowing certain like interest rates or stuff like that, or I mean certain APRs and different stuff like that. But there's definitely lots of weird stuff going on in this whole industry as a whole. I could see it going down a little bit more personally too, but I think they'll end up doing pretty good for the long term. It's just here in the short term, they definitely look like they might break that 220 support. And if they do, I'll be eyeing them up for right around $200 even.
All right, and then we have Vicky and Jorge saying, how far is Lucid going today? And then Jorge said, Lucid is now up 10% for the day. This is crazy, Tom.
Yeah, it finally broke that after hours high of yesterday, and it's just been a great move up ever since they broke $23. Honestly, it's a great move, and look at that max daily. It's starting to recover up so nicely, and I know Lucid had that bad day a few weeks ago where they tanked down to the downside, had a really bad like outlook or something, and then they just got bought right back to the upside. And I honestly like it. For the long term, I think it'll be pretty good to grab shares even at this price. Even at $23, I think shares aren't too bad as far as risk reward ratio goes. The all-time high is at 64, so I think there could definitely be some more upwards momentum in the future. And I think this will definitely be a longer term hold. Like I don't think I would ever buy shares of Lucid, Mike, and just hold it for a couple months and try to trade it from like 23 up to 30 or something. I think I would hold it for like a couple years and maybe hope to get maybe $23 up to $60 or something crazy.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go for sure. And then we have James saying, please DDOG levels, thanks. Let's take a look. DDOG, so it's down like 0.5%. Tom, what levels do you have on this one?
Yeah, it almost reminds me of Upstart. It just keeps flying. And, we broke that level yesterday right around like 143, had a great move up through that. And it looks like that 145.86 is like their all time high up there. And they are pulling back. So I would say really watch out for like 145 to 145.86 to the upside. And as we start pulling back, we honestly bounced a lot off of the 140 support. So watch out for 140. We're about $3 away from there.
There we go. All right, so Tom, do you have any last-minute stocks, options, or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
I'm still eyeing up some of these cruise lines like CCL. Honestly, is having a great move up today. Really great recoveries out of these stocks. They've been consolidating a lot over the past few weeks. Like you said, RCL is probably my favorite one too. I think Royal Caribbean's the best out of all of them personally. So that's why I say that. But it looks really good on the daily. They're recovering up. And the thing is they still haven't, like in RCL's case, they haven't really broken that 85 resistance yet. And I feel like that they have a lot of potential to kind of maybe break that later on today, or maybe break it on Monday and have another big run up through that resistance level. But man, these stocks have been recovering so well. And like you said earlier, they're just part of that recovery play sector, like the airlines, the hotels, and everything. And it seems like that whole sector is doing decent today.
All right, and we have Keisha saying LCID launched an e-car that can travel 520 miles on a single charge, the first EV with a longer range than Tesla. So
there we go.
Yeah, good stuff. And then we have Bravo saying, do you guys think the market past 2 days trending as sell at the beginning, then bounce back? Looks like we will bounce back, in my opinion. I mean, it's just so tough, like, because the patterns are, like, changing almost every day, like, for the first, I want to say like the first 3 days of this week, the market would gap down and then like run up and then sell off. But then the other day, the market gapped up and then it just did the reverse. So like honestly, like in my opinion, like those like short-term patterns like aren't too significant. I just think the best way to go is, grab a hedge and just hold it, because like these patterns are always changing, and the market's wild, and all it takes is one catalyst or just like one little thing, and it can completely throw off the pattern. So honestly, like I said, I just feel like the best way to go is just like grab a hedge and hold it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go too. And like Mike said, it's always changing. And one thing I just want to point out is really quick. I think personally the market might keep selling off today. I think there's a pretty high chance of that. It's September 17th. There was all this negative momentum talked about today, and we finally broke support. So I feel like that we could see a lot more downwards movement. It could end up popping up intraday, but I just feel like the sell-off will continue. But one thing I just want to point out is that for the past few days, we were kind of trading between a range. So if you're going to say like all the up and down movement and stuff, like if you look at it like, oh, well, we pop up in after hours and then it opened, we move down and then we hit support and we come right back up. Well, the thing was is that we were moving up off of that 444 support every single time. And now we finally broke that to the downside. So I feel like we might see a move down now. And that's the main reason, is just that we were trading between that range. Every time we hit 444, we'd go back up. And every time we hit 448, we'd go down, and we finally moved one way or the other. And I just think that since we finally broke out, we might finally see a continuation.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching today's stream. We had a great time, and the market's going crazy. So, guys, hedges can be great. And, please be careful in this market. It's going all over the place. So, again, thank you guys so much for joining us today, and have an amazing, amazing weekend.